Heartbreak in Dortmund, Italy's Nations League quarterfinal drama. This is our Semi-Informed Football Podcast. I have my colleague Ross with me. My friend Ross, and we're going to talk about the game between Italy and Germany. Now, I don't think anybody wants to recap 5 days after the game happened. I think everybody watched the replays to death, even read about all on the line. So that's not what we're here about. We're going to talk about little finer points about the team. Like, we've had a little bit of time to kind of think about what happened with the game and like where they are going forward and what this means for World Cup qualifying. So anyways, here you are. It's Semi-Informed Football Podcast, the Serie A focused curve of view. And we're here just to chat about like kind of a mix of analysis of what we had. So Ross, again, like, how did you like that game? Like, what was that stood out for you?
Yeah, no, full and thank you for having me again, Marko.
Of course.
I appreciate you reaching out, but did see a lot of the recap and highlights I think it was a game of two sleeping giants. Italy seemed like they were at the espresso bar in the beginning and having their lattes and espressos and just kind of get into the game. And then it seems like in the second half that, the schnitzel kicked in and Germany just kind of fell flat and got caught on a couple of, one really good goal, a penalty kick, but in between a bad mishap that happened and Italy took advantage of it. So,
Yeah, 100%. And then we're not going to dwell on this, but just to kind of recap it for everybody that didn't get a chance to watch that. So it's funny, you said you weren't able to watch the game, and I was actually remotely watching the game, but with a lot of Italy fans, and they were happy to turn it off after the first 30 minutes, right? But you know what they did is they turned it off and they missed the second half, right? So this was insane. So if you see this was a 3-3 draw. The second half, which was in Dortmund, it was a 2-leg quarterfinal. The first half in Milan, I believe, Germany won 2-1, which a game which I think was a little bit tighter than I guess the result showed. I think I predicted on my podcast before 1-1. All right, it was really, really close to that, and I felt like Germany had just really a lot of help on those set plays, but. So Germany gets the 5-4 aggregate win. We'll analyze the game a little bit, but I think you're right. It was a game of two halves. Germany came out and they just looked like they were dominating in the first half. And we were just talking online about, the first goal was a PK. The second goal was a Donnarumma. I don't even know what he was thinking. He was yelling at people. And Kimmich, who I'm just going to preface right now, is I think Kimmich right now is one of the best footballers in the world. I think he doesn't get as much playtime because he doesn't play for Real Madrid or in the Premier or anything like that, but just a phenomenal player. Yes, he plays right back for the German team, but he plays like a CMD, a central mid defensive role for Bayern, but just such a smart player, such an amazing player. I think he was in on every single goal. He scored the first PK. Again, he's the one that called Musiala for that for that quick corner, and I think he even assisted on the third goal. So unreal with that. But again, I'm going to throw this one off to you because you really like Moise Kean over both legs, but especially in the second half.
Yeah, I think this player here, and I'm gonna start with the Juve fans because I know you're a Juve fan, and I'm not sure if you fall in this camp because we never discussed this, but there were a lot of Juve fans that I talked to that were happy to see Kean leave.
That was me.
And
happy to see him leave? Oh, I'm happy to see him succeed.
Yes, to leave Juve, because apparently, it just wasn't gelling there, and not ends up at Fiorentina, and what a year the guy's having. He's second top scorer in the league, just right behind Redigate, and I mean, I love the guy, and I'm glad. Sorry, I shouldn't say I'm glad that Redigate got hurt, but I'm glad that has an opportunity to shine and show what he can do, and he showed it. He showed it in game one. You and I discussed just recently about the play he did there, but on Sunday, two just like reasons why this guy's a good striker, and just I love his play, I love his tenacity. He's kind of a showman when he has to be, but overall, I think he was the difference. And I know I'm not sure. I think they gave the player of the match to on that game. I can't remember it. It's on. And it was to Keane. They gave it to Keane.
I believe so. I believe
give it. That guy would have gave it to him. Yeah,
he almost changed the game itself. I agree with you. I agree with you. And I know it's a kind of an antiquated. I don't know. It's not an antiquated system, like a 4-4-2, but playing with two strikers. And I'm like, but this is a great problem to have. for Spalletti, where he can take a look and say, maybe we play a Retegui and we play a Moise Kean together. So it was a little bit different. So in the first leg of the game, which I thought was their better lineup, was Raspadori was playing a little bit behind Kean, and I thought that was a good line. I don't think it really gelled. Like he had his opportunities. Raspadori did play well, but they went with a different lineup. So they actually played Daniel Maldini, grandson of Cesare, son of Paolo. I think his, he was like, again, he has a pedigree. I was not sold on him. I know he's an Atalanta player. I wasn't sold on him. I think he had an okay game, but I think they have some tinkering. What was interesting, I actually saw an article after I watched this game where Spalletti came out and he said they played scared. Like it was his fault. He put up the wrong lineup. I don't know about that. Like, I think there's a lot of solid players. I think Udogie from Tottenham really deserves to be on that team. Like, there's a strong back, strong winger, such a great player. Like, I think he was playing like left back during the game. Tonali from Newcastle, amazing. I don't know. I don't know about that Ricci Rovella kind of swap. I really don't know what that sort of center is doing, but I don't know. They have a lot of great players. One thing I guess you're missing, they're missing a DeMarco, right? They're missing a Retegui. So, interesting how they have it lined up. I think they're a solid team through and through. We're going to talk about the World Cup qualifying in their group. It's Group I, so that they're in. I'll tell you a little bit more about that afterwards. But for this itself, like I kind of agree with you. Like I think they really saved face in that second half, where again they would have held their heads really low if if they had lost 3-2, or if they had like continued with 3-0, or even worse. So it was a challenge. It was a challenging match, but I think at least for Italy, there's a little bit more to go on, right? Like I think there's hope.
Yeah, I look. Spalletti's got, like you just said a few minutes ago, he's got the pick of the litter. And pedigree as well with Maldini there. He's Serie A is if you look at it, it's probably this year the best, tightest league that,
Yeah.
like the top 10 table, and the room from space right now from Milan on down to I think fourth. Like
Yeah.
it's anybody's. Like anybody's going to get those top last three spots in the European competitions, including, I'm hoping, my Roma. But
So they're on the up. I look. It looks good.
yeah, it's looking. I mean, a tough thing at the Europa, but Europa League, but it is what it is. But another subject. I think Spalletti's the guy who can pull this team together. I think I've been hearing that maybe he's been oversold as a coach, and based on what he did at Napoli, like he's a coach. Yeah, he's a good coach, and I think that sometime you make selections, and even the formation that he used, he clogged up. You know why he did it? He was playing the Germans, so he clogged up the middle, right? And that's a historical, I think, formation that coaches have relied on when they play Germany in the Italian system, right?
100%, Ross. And honestly, you sound like a veteran podcaster, because you're actually segueing into my next topic, which is phenomenal. But I agree with what you say. They gummed it up and they hit Germany. They hit Germany on the counterattack. And this seems to be the story every single time these two match up. So in the last podcast, I went through a bunch of the last encounters, the bigger encounters right here. But I'm going to give you an opportunity, because I have the super fan. The core review is about being the super fans on it. What's one game that you really kind of sticks out for you? The tie between Italy and Germany.
So I got two, if I could share, like obviously for obvious reason. They're both successful stories. So success stuff. I'm old enough to have been. I was 12 years old when 82 was around, and that was a big game. You had some an Italian squad that was shouldn't have been where they were. Actually, there was a lot riding against them, but Berizzo had put a team that he thought was pretty solid together. Paolo Rossi, who came back with some personal issues, was the hero. But there was a whole other squad of people. I mean, Conti, yeah, right. Dino's off in the net, like between the pipes. You could go on about that team, and that for me was a really coming of moment for the Italians globally, I think, right? And it helped for that. So it was the euphoria. So was the game exceptional? Yeah, maybe. I think it was okay. If I I haven't watched it myself in years, but maybe it's a reminder to go watch it again just to see what the difference was like. And
And that was our third world champion. That was our third world champion. They put him in second spot behind the Brazilians at the time. And
that's at the time, that's right. And then Brazil went on a tear, of course.
yeah.
The other one would be 2006, and again, a team that was assembled, that gelled very good together. I think they were one of the most cohesive teams. If you saw some of the videos that were floating around on the internet at the time, they were singing together. They did some songs together. They were very very cohesive team, and it was because they had a respect for each other, because there was a level of soccer that was there. Like, I mean, you had Totti, you had Pirlo, you had who was the Bayern Munich striker? Luca Toni,
Look at Tony. Yeah.
right? You had all these guys that were like just they were kind of in their I want to say yeah, right in the prime, late prime, and like, I mean, and for me, I think that again a midfield that was solid. I mean, you had Gattuso chopping people down, and playing the rough style that he plays and clogging up that, and then you had Pirlo who would thread needles, like thread passes to people that were, and I sent you a stat that I had to share with you, and I got to share it with your listeners. 82% pass, a pass percentage at that tournament. Like, Pirlo was just unbelievable, and a difference maker for sure. You take him out of the equation, I don't know where that team would have been.
Yeah, it's funny because I don't know. I'm getting a lot of feeds, like on my YouTube and everything, just about that game. So I ended up catching, like, I think it was just the extra time of that game on YouTube. I watched it live as well, right? And I remember that itself, and it was that's what they hammered him on the counter attack. But one thing that I said, it was a YouTube short that I saw, and it was one of Pirlo where he said, "'Cause you know what? I slept in, played PlayStation all day, and then at the evening I went to win the World Cup." Like, what a quote. Pirlo is a player that a lot of people can look up to. Like, it's just not that really physical specimen, not that, but just smart and yeah, and dedicating. Like you said, 82% passing in a World Cup, in the biggest championship. And if you want to put any context with that was the quarterfinal matchup, Italy versus Germany, and then the final was the Zidane headbutt. So everybody remembers that with that World Cup.
Yeah, just to add, like, I think you also highlighted that Italy got Germany on the counterattack, and let's be frank, like, and I'm not sure if you'd agree, but and your listeners would agree, but I mean, Italy's not exactly the best on the counterattack. Like, that's not what they do absorb, and then they do it. They do push, but just against Germany, that seems to come out, and I guess it's because Germany is a power. They just keep hitting,
Right.
keep hitting. So it's the opportunity to do it, and maybe it stands out a little more. But not sure if you agree with that, but.
No, it is, and then there's a term for it. I don't know if it's exactly what you're describing, but from what I understand from, say, Italian coaching, it is catenaccio, which is more just kind of the lockbox, right? Just kind of locking things down and waiting for that moment, waiting for that. So again, honestly, I've said this on the podcast before. I'm like, I think this is my favorite matchup in any country in the world. Like, you can watch Brazil and Argentina and get really, really excited with it. You can watch, say, Netherlands and Spain just this past qualifying campaign. And, shout out to the whole campaign, because Sunday's games were phenomenal. Were two games going into extra time and going into penalties. Like, what a time to be a football fan, right? Like, just to watch those. But, like, where do you think that this home and away, leg one and leg two, kind of ranks with the best games? And they'll say the quality. I'm like, obviously it's not a World Cup win. It's just World Cup qualifying, or it's just Nations League, right? Really, it's just Nations League right now. But as the quality of the games, like, where does this rank compared to some of your favorite matchups, or the matchups that you've seen in the last few years?
I would say these two both were more evenly matched, where you saw two good teams. Like, sometime I think in 2006, everybody thought that Germany was just going to steamroll Italy in that match. And not steamroll, but they were going to have, they were going to come out the winners out of that, and they were at home. Like, you can go on the benefits. The team was like solid. Like, I mean, the German machine at that time was just totally strong. But this here, I think you saw more of an even style of opportunities and chances and whatnot. So to me, it was like, I think that these two matches were actually quality. Like, it was good to watch. Like, it was actually really what, when I saw the replay of the Sunday's game, I thought that, yeah, wow, this was a good game, right? I wish I had watched it live. I would have been sitting, and I probably would have been like your colleagues, just turn off
Yeah.
Your friends that were watching, and just like, I'll turn it off at half because this is it, this is done, right? But and you would have missed a great comeback in the second half, right? And again, even sides flip, and sides that can take advantage, quality players that can take advantage of mishaps.
Hmm.
And
Yes.
and
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 and you saw that when you saw that, I think it was Keane's second goal, but it was just like a poor back pass that a defender couldn't handle. Um, there was a penalty kick in, I think it was in the 70th, around the 70th minutes of this past game, that wasn't given, but I'm like, it really could have been given. Like I feel like if anything, Italy exposed Germany's really poor defending. And as much as you go on these pro-German podcasts and they end up talking about, oh, the greatness of Rudiger and Tah and Schlotterbeck, like I just see holes, right? So as a Die Mannschaft fan, I'm looking at this and I'm like, I don't know if this is a team that's ready to win this whole thing in 2026. So, you know what, it is what it is. Like I think it was a very it was a very amazing tie. I think you're right. The fact that it wasn't a blowout like that first half, that it actually came back, it made it a whole lot more interesting. I think this is going to be one for the ages. Unfortunately, it's not, doesn't hold the gravity of 1982, of 2006, or even that penalty kick in the Euro. Remember when they went down to, everybody ended up missing. Anyways, so game over again. We're not focusing on that, but World Cup qualifying outlook. So if Italy does not make the World Cup in 2026, that's going to be 12 years with no World Cup, no World Cup games. And I know that's something that you don't understand from the quality or the pedigree or from the history of this team, that that's even possible. So right now they actually move into group I, a group I that's already started because again, the qualifying campaign has already started. It started the same weekend that the Nations League happened. So because they got bounced out of the quarterfinals, they go into a group I, a group with, I'm going to read right now, Norway, Estonia, Israel, and Moldova, right? So if you're looking at it on paper and you're like, you know what, that doesn't seem like strong competition. Norway, however, jumped out with their first two games, and they're actually up with full 6 points. So Italy obviously has 0 points because they haven't played a game yet. There no worries that they're going to catch up in games and everything like that. But I don't know. I'm looking at this right now, and I know some of these teams can kind of play spoilers and everything like that.
yeah, exactly.
I think Norway is their biggest matchup. How did like, are you afraid of that one? Are you afraid of matching up against Norway? Knowing that they have the Holland, the
Yeah.
guard, right? Like, they have these one player that can really cause a difference.
So I'm definitely afraid of that strength that they have, and then but at the end of the day, that would be one game, and I think Italy could lose that game. And my my thing is always they're in a weaker division otherwise, and two weaker team games, and traditionally for Italy that does not bode well. And because I don't know if I don't know if they're just overconfident. I don't know what it is, or the other teams rise to the occasion. I mean, we've seen it before, like where, the last qualification game, a game they should have won, and they were just, you know, flat-footed, and I don't know what it is, and they just couldn't make events happen. These are where, every shot down net counts, and these games you just have to put your opponents away to make sure that you stand out, and you cusp one of the qualifying spots. So Norway, yeah, you're right. I mean, that could go either way, but I think they could rise to that occasion. Top team. It's the other two teams, Moldova and sorry, you said Moldova and
Israel and Estonia.
Israel and Estonia.
Yeah.
But yeah, and Israel as well. Like I know I've watched them play. I've watched some of
Oh yeah, they play with heart, like, and they
yeah,
they scare people.
yeah, yeah.
So yeah, if you're looking on paper, you say Italy doesn't have a chance. So this is how it kind of lines up. So the next national games for Italy are going to be June 6th Norway and June 9th Moldova. So right off the bat, June 6th they have in Norway. What I find really really interesting is that if I read another article where Spalletti said he's not going to call up Acerbi. Now, Acerbi, yeah, elder statesman on Inter, but he's shut down Holland in very big games when Inter plays against Man City. So that's something that's pretty interesting. Like I almost feel like forget about egos, forget about how building these things out. I go, you got to bring the right players to the game. And I know Italy has one of the youngest teams. I think they said something about 24.2. I could be totally wrong on that, but they had a younger squad than Germany did. But I just feel like, just having that elder statesman, like, like back a few years back, I didn't think and people totally proved me wrong and yelled at me, but it was for the Euro that Italy won. I looked at Chiellini on the back row line and I said, why are you bringing this old man? I'm like, you could have been playing all these other players. I'm like, why would you bring Chiellini? And look what happened in the tournament. Like, he really owned that. He even had that Saka shirt pull that might have been a red card, but hey, you know what? It propelled them to win that tournament.
It was a good foul to take.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I say. Give it to Chiellini to always take the good foul. I think he went to LA with the MLS for one season just to kind of wrap up his career, and that's what he is. He's taking these good fouls where he sees a ball that's well over his head and he reaches up and he grabs it. But like, you have to look at that guy and you have to laugh. Like, it's so it is what it is. But okay, going into World Cup qualifying, I know we have a year and a half until 2026, where it's in Canada, USA, and Mexico. So North American World Cup. We're recording this podcast from Toronto, so really, really excited as to kind of the drum up to this right now. But do you see any problems for them to qualify, or how would their next year and a half? You think Spalletti might be actually looking to kind of tighten up that lineup? Like, again, my quote before that I got from him is that he felt like he started the wrong players, and the point that maybe they were a little bit too immature and they couldn't rise to the occasion that, like, a historical matchup that Italy versus Germany really is, right? So you did mention in there's going to be a few problems, but you think they'll gel, and you think that, hey, you know what, coming out with this first place in Group I, automatic qualification, you think that's what you're expecting?
Yeah, like I think that they will come out of this. They have to, and this was the Nations Cup. To Spalletti's point, I think was a place to try something, because what's really on the line? This is really, it used to be friendlies. They did something. They made a tournament out of it.
Yes,
you talked about that on one of your previous podcasts. Let's try things out. Let's see what happens. Let's see what works. And to your point, maybe you got to swallow your ego and invite guys that you normally wouldn't invite, because they have the like a church. Yeah, yeah. So I'm hoping that he does that. I'm hoping that he realizes that. And the fact that he said that, I think Spalletti's he's a hard-headed coach. I mean, I remember his time at Rome, the second time, especially with Totti. I don't know if you remember that. Not a great time, but he's also, like, I think, very introspective. Like, I think he looks and says when he does something wrong, I think he admits it. And I'm hoping that that he does swallow his ego and bring the team that he needs to bring.
Yeah.
To make the qualification, to make the qualification, ensure the qualification, and then build the team from there. And that gelling is so important. He's gonna have to start deciding on who those guys are, right? Who that, core 12 and then beyond. Like, I mean, he's gonna have to kind of start thinking about, like,
yeah, it's not long away, right?
Not long away, and you need the time to make these guys, because how many times do they come to camp? Obviously, they'll be doing it through the summer, but
right, they don't have much time. They don't have
Serie A, all the European tournaments. The heck, I mean, you don't have time. You just it's soccer. The soccer is it's all year long now. Thank God.
So like, again, that's some thoughts that I had is that like, maybe when they're matching up against, Estonia's a tricky team, but even when they're matching up with, say, Moldova, where you think that this would, starting a player like a Casade, right? Like, and just trying to bring that young and say, what do I have here? Do I have a young 18-year-old? Do I have a young 20-year-old that can really kind of give them the boost that they need within this tournament? Or is it something that they're not plugging the right holes? So it's very interesting. Like, I'm interested to see how the next little bit happens. I can't see a 2026 World Cup with Italy not in it. It just seems very, very. It seems like they've done the right things. Like, I don't know. I'm one, and I've told this to people before. So when they won the Euro a few years back, I'm one that thought, I'm like, it was kind of smoke and mirrors. I think Donnarumma really played out of his socks. I just felt like they won it, but I felt the team. It just, like, again, they won the right games. Like, it just happened that way. But I just feel like because off the bat, you see right after that, they end up going to World Cup qualifying and not qualifying for the World Cup. So,
yeah. And to go back to your 2020, like, I mean, or 2021, like the Euro, that even their defense, like Spinazzola, he was having a great tournament until he got hurt. He was having a fantastic tournament, and then so they overcame quite a bit there. But to your point, like, I mean, was it the best soccer? Like, I don't, soccer team that they could have. Yeah, I'm not sure, but I agree with you. Like, I think they will make it into this one. If they can overcome that overconfidence that they have with these smaller, excited teams that are, they could any given day could just go up 1-0 on you and just park the bus, right?
Yeah, and that's what it was. Like that Catenaccio right there. So amazing, Ross. Thank you so much for taking me on with this journey right now. Like you had a lot of insights and enthusiasm for this team. So because this is a Serie A podcast, kind of want to leave you with a few things. Well, a few things that happened during the week, and I didn't prep you for this, so I'm just gonna throw those out. Maybe you care, maybe you don't. One, Tonali, does he come back to Italy, and what team does he come back to?
That's interesting. Yeah, I know a lot of Milan fans that are crying about that. Wow, what shirt could I see him in? What would I love to see him in a Roma shirt? I don't know if he would fit in there though. I don't know I mean they're pretty chalked up on the mid, right? With not great quality players like a Tonali would be a
Yeah.
but I could see him on a Juve.
Yeah, I see him in black and white too. Like,
Yeah.
does he come back to red and black? I don't think Milan has that. They don't have that spending anymore, right? Like years are gone. I think they're going to be a little bit more of a responsible club with their spending. I don't know, but you're right. Like again, how bad would that look? Like I don't know. You kind of don't jump between these teams, but if he has to go to Inter, it's going to be over, right? Like I swear to God, he's going to be hated. Like it's going to be the worst. So I'm going to give you one more.
And sorry, the only other team, if I
Yeah.
could, I think is Napoli rumored?
I don't know. Honestly, the rumors that I see is that they're doubling down and he's going to stay. Like, there's no way he's not even on the market for England. But I don't know. You always see people that are actually going to try to go out to spread interest and everything like that. My guess is he stays put because they see what value had. Again, he has his problem with the gambling and everything like that. I think he's well past that. Stupid kid stuff type of thing. And like I just honestly like I saw how he played at least specifically in the first leg, and I saw how he played. I'm like, he's a great player and he's a great addition to this team. I'm going to give you number two. And I bet you could guess what I'm going to ask you here. Igor Tudor. Igor Tudor, was he the right person for this team right now? And does he vault Juve into a top 4 spot?
I mean, all things are pointing to Mancini.
Yeah,
You're right. I don't know what you maybe knew about that, but when you mentioned it, I was like, Igor Tudor, I didn't hear that name at all. Like, it just, I don't know. I don't know enough of him, to be honest. I think, eh, with and specifically in that role at the old lady, like I don't know, like that's a tough one. Like I thought Mancini was a done deal, and because it all seemed like it was just pointing to that.
Yeah. Well, so this is it, and this is the conversation we had offline. I said you need with all due respect to Monte, he did a great job with Bologna, and I think he's a great talent and a great prospect, but I don't think he holds the gravitas necessary for the old lady. I think he needs to really understand egos and understand how, because this is more than a club. Like this is a culture, and that's how Juve is. Honestly, I just think they needed somebody in there, somebody that can really take charge of the locker room, because I heard that Motta lost that locker room. So looking up for Igor Tudor is playing 7.5 years as defense on Juve. I think you know what, if you've been here for 7.5 years, if you've been in Torino for 7.5 years, and you understand how the locker room moves and like the quality, you're going back to a time when, yeah, I don't know how many Serie A they won in a row. Like I totally forgot, but like they own the Serie A, right? So you need that sort of that strength. So honestly, I know that there's a lot of money to be lost if they don't make Champions League. And that's why they made this knee-jerk reaction. Like they didn't have the patience to say, you know what, let's give Motta another full year, right? Like they didn't have the patience for that. So I think he's going to do well. I already heard that he's going back to Dusan. And maybe that revitalizes Duchamp, because there's a lot of players that, yeah, again, you said Motta lost a locker room. Maybe Igor is in there right now to kind of bring the locker room back together, kind of bring that quality and try to get the best out of a lot of these players.
Yeah, and this seems like it's an epidemic in Serie A right now with these player coaches, these former players, that are recently retired. We started with De Rossi, that started the trend in Rome, and then Motta took Bologna and he took him to heights that and maybe you're right. This was a big stretch to go to
It was too early for him. And if you listen to my podcast, I said the same thing with Ten Hag and Manchester United. I think he's a great coach. I hope he lands somewhere well. I don't think he's linked to a club yet, but I think Manchester United was a little bit too early for him, right? I think he had to really kind of build up that. I don't know, like a Mourinho, right? Like go 3 years from club to club to club, right? But like I think that's my view on it. So I'm going to wrap things up right now. First of all, another thing what I want to point out is I want to point out a big thank you to FeedSpot. So FeedSpot puts us on their newsletter, and Ross, I'm going to actually send you this right now, but they send me 2 great European football podcasts every day. And like there's things that I would have probably not landed on, but FeedSpot highlights, and a lot of the time our podcast lands on the FeedSpot. So we're going to really big shout out to FeedSpot for doing that. Thank you so much. And thank you so much for actually sharing great content that I can listen to and really, really let me think a little bit better. So that's a cool thing too. Now, for the next episode of the Semi-Informed Football Court of Review, I already kind of teased it before, but I really wanted to give a preview of Inter versus Bayern, right? And you know what? I'm actually going to put it's great that I identified it right now, but I feel like Inter versus Bayern has so many similarities to Italy versus Germany because I feel like it's going to play out almost the exact same way. So, that's a great segue for that. So with that said, Ross, I hope you can come back again. This has been a phenomenal conversation and I hope people listen in and then think the same thing. Again, you could throw comments on Spotify or any of the other apps, on YouTube as well. We're on YouTube as well now too, or just kind of send an email. The email's in the description too. Anything you want to kind of hear from us. Again, this is supposed to be a podcast just including fans, right? From the fan section of the stadium, just talking about Serie A football. Thank you so much for all of this. And Ross, we'll chat with you soon.
Great. Have a great weekend. We'll talk to you.
You too. Bye now.